Hello, welcome to this video, and I want to have a conversation today on the conflict in Ethiopia. Is it possible to bring peace, long-lasting peace in Ethiopia? And here is my perspective. I am from this region. I have extensive experience, and I've been in the war between these groups. I am Oromo, but I will look at this as unbiased as possible. I'm not giving any groups any favor. I'm looking at this as a independent observer. I'm looking at it from outside. Okay, I don't gain anything from what is happening in the country, and I wish I can say it doesn't affect me personally, but it does, because the people that are suffering because of the war are the people that I know, and given that may as it is, I will let's go over of what I write here. And I think that the answer to is it possible to bring about long-lasting peace in Ethiopia, I think it is possible for short term, and then for the short term, I believe the UN should bring in a convoy of peacekeepers immediately to save the Tigray populations that are dying. Over 20,000 Tigray people are dying of starvation and disease every month. And now this starvation is created by the Ethiopian government intentionally. They're burning down the farms so people cannot grow food. And they're also making sure that the people cannot grow food. They prevent the people from growing food in any way possible. And most people are running for their life in this region of Tigray, Amhara, Oromo regions. So in Oromo region alone, there are something like people are dying. People are dying of hunger, and they are dying of a disease, and the number is very high. In Oromo, it's getting there now. It's getting worse. Before it wasn't that much, but now it's getting worse. The number that I am estimating from the human rights organization report of refugees, of people fleeing and reporting and coming to the refugee camps within the country looking for food, people who are dying. The report mentions the high number of about 7,000 people dying from the Oromo region every month. And some of the Somali refugees living in Ethiopia also, this is affecting them as well. They're dying in high numbers. I don't have the numbers for those Somalis, but they are also affected. So I think what the United Nations should do is bring the peacekeepers in a block of three different divisions of peacekeepers. One, peacekeepers along Ethiopia and Eritrea border to make sure that Eritrea soldiers stay out of the conflict. They're not getting involved, because there are reports of Eritrea soldiers coming into Tigray, into Ethiopia, into Oromo regions, into the Amhara regions, inflaming the conflict, destabilizing the country. So keeping them out it would contribute to the stabilization and bringing out the long-lasting peace eventually. Also, a second block of the peacekeeping convoy should be alongside Afar and Tigray border. Afar is basically Somalis. For those of you who don't know this history of this region, Afar are 99% Muslim, and one thing that they will die fighting is Tigray. They don't. So any humanitarian that will have to go through Afar to get to Tigray, the truck it's not possible. It's not possible because the Afar are Somalis. They will not allow. Assume the Afar. When I'm referring to Afar is Somalis. They are nothing but Somalis. It's just for those of you who knows, Afar have been blocking the humanitarian trucks from coming through. They've been robbing the trucks, taking the possession of the truck, selling it within the country and also to Kenya and Sudan. So it's not possible to have the humanitarian UN truck or other organization that is providing humanitarian assistance to this region to get through this region of Afar safely. It's not possible. Let's not fool each other, or no, don't. And so having a peacekeeping forces in Afar region to make sure those trucks get through safely to Tigray is the most important. And the second is have a the third, also have a peacekeeping forces between Amhara Tigray border, and of course have the humanitarian trucks have to be accompanied by a convoy of a UN convoy to make sure that they're not being attacked, because that's what is happening. You send out 70, 100 trucks and they get attacked by just these Amhara groups that is adamant that they don't allow truck into Tigray, so sabotage the truck movement. So this security cannot be guaranteed. Sometimes even the Ethiopian government themselves, they will send in remove their soldier uniform. They will send their own their own soldiers to sabotage the delivery of the truck. So that's that. So having the UN military convoy as a peacekeepers will keep the peace temporarily, and also it will give a temporary assessment of who is which side of these groups, Amhara, Afar, Tigray, Eritrean, also Al-Shabaab, and the Ethiopian government forces, which of these groups are troublemakers in this region. It gives you an insight into kind of making a fair assessment, if that's even possible. And then when it comes to Oromo and Tigray alliance, and temporarily this will help. I think this will help temporarily. The defense force, the two of them united in the region, will make it possible for short relief to the people in the conflict zones by allowing humanitarian access. And everyone must understand, though, this alliance will fail eventually, given these groups' bloody history, and those two groups will eventually turn on each other. This must be in the back of people who don't know about these groups. You must understand this. And the Oromo and Amhara have population of over 40 million people each. Remember, the Oromo and Amhara, they want to get rid of the Tigray for now. And those groups, their history is, they have a long history of ideological and ethnic animosity toward each other. They hate each other, and they also hate Tigray. So what do they say? The enemy of my enemy is my friend. So because they're fighting their enemies, for now, they will help each other. But eventually, if the Tigray is defeated, they will turn on each other. And I also know that there are elements of jihadists in OLF, in Oromo Liberation Front, on OLA. So given there are jihadists and Muslim terrorist element in OLF, they will allow the spread of Al-Shabaab, the spread of ISIS, the Muslim terrorists. There are, in my opinion, in my assessment, that Ethiopia will, if OLA and the Al-Shabaab join hand, the entire region of Ethiopia will become the Afghanistan of ISIS. Remember, during the ISIS, where Syria, Afghanistan, in those regions where the ISIS riding around in a pickup truck, hanging people, burning people alive. That will be what will happen. I have no doubt in my mind that if the two groups, OLF and Al-Shabaab and ISIS element join hand, that will be the result of what will happen. I know that the OLF, the Oromo, are amateurs when it comes to the killing of people. I'm talking about they have been doing killing. I'm not talking about they don't kill people. I'm talking about if you look at the level of heinous crimes, the level of, like, you see the ISIS putting somebody in the cage and put them in a river of gaslings and set them on fire. Those kind of things have not. Their OLF is amateur when it comes to those kind of things, but they will be more than happy to accommodate those kind of activities. So to make sure those things don't happen, and just be aware that that's a possibility. And and also the unity that exists. There are a lot of the Western people don't understand is that this region have a long history of wars and fight. I remember when I was a young child of 4 years old, the schools, that everything that was taught in school is always about the kuffar, defeating the kuffar. The kuffar or non-Muslims are the reason why we are suffering in poverty. We are poor, we're sick. Why there is always the reason why there are always dry seasons, the cow dying, or whatever the misery of the society is always blame on of the non-Muslims. And so, and the non-Muslims that exist in the country at the time, that all this hatred is directed toward normally the Amhara and the Tigray. So these groups, the generation that exists today, the Oromos, Amhara, and the Tigray, Somalis, all of these groups, they have been taught to hate and to die for their beliefs in hope that they're guaranteed to be rewarded in heaven. And so each of the institutions, for example, there are over 2 million Muslim, or there are over 2 million Muslim in the region. This includes the Oromos, Amharas, the Oromo, Somali, Afar, Sudan, some Amhara, united in their fight against the common enemy for jihad. The bloodthirsty charlatans, sheikh in the mosque, in churches, in public school, all calling for beheading of each other's groups, and more heinously behind closed door. This is happening throughout the country, but of course nobody report. No white people report for fear of being labeled racist, dividers, slavers of Africa. Native reporters, the native people, the reporters, the television, the local television, the local newspapers, the conscious people that are aware of these are afraid for their life, for their families, because these people are, at the end of the day, they live there, and if they report something from one group's committing some crime, the other groups will come for them. So they are stuck between rock and hard places. So it's not easy for them, and some of them actually, in the native reporters, fear shame image this report will bring to their country, beside being afraid of being killed. And so the peace negotiator, in my assessment, while the UN peacekeepers are there, people getting their food and medication, preventing the starvation of the population, the peace negotiator must look for alternative to long-lasting peace. And in negotiation, do not involve the majority of Muslim groups, and try to unite Tigray and Amhara coalition, as those two are only groups in the region ideologically identical, as bloodthirsty as the Al-Shabaab Jihadist sympathizer the rest of Ethiopia have become. And so that's what my outlook is in this region. And if you feel you want to email me, you could that email right there. And we'll talk to you later. I catch some kind of flu or something cold. That's why I wasn't able to make that as many videos as I like, and I will bring you more information as the time go by. If there is something that is happening, I'm sure there will be. The country is right now is at the verge of going back to fighting. I'm talking about Ethiopia and Tigray, and there have always been a fighting going on between some element in the country, and into recently the government of Ethiopia and Tigray supposedly agreed to some sort of a peace treaty, but the Ethiopian government broke the treaty by starting some shelling down on TDF position in the region, and now the peace treaty have ceased to exist, and each side is preparing for war. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel, and we'll talk to you later. And if you have an idea of or other stuff that I should talk about, let me know. Have a good evening.